Well, hello and welcome to another lockdown interview. And I'm very pleased to be joined by the car pervert himself. It's Jonny Smith. Hello, sir.
Top of the day to you. I didn't say morning or afternoon because nobody knows right
This
now.
is the internet. It could be either. It looks like it's the dead of night behind you.
Yeah, that's my blackboard of creativity there. I'm trying to crop it off because there might be some good ideas on it.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that looks like a good idea.
I might have to do that.
Yeah, it's all right. I won't pay any attention. So the reason I'm having a chat with CarPervert today is, well, we've known of each other for a fair while now, and sometimes our stuff crosses over. But what I like about CarPervert is that quite often it doesn't. You're covering stuff I'm not covering, and it's that variety that makes it joyous. But I think what your channel does that I don't think necessarily telly always managed to do is it really showcases your enthusiasm for cars. And you can go on about stuff in detail you just can't really do on telly.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because a few people have said that as well. When you do TV stuff, obviously you're most of the time you're just a hired gun, so you have a say in the script if it is fully scripted. And like on Fifth Gear, for example, it was normally sort of 50-50, 50% script, 50% me talking whatever I want to say. But I don't like scripts.
I can't use them.
No, I don't like them, and I feel too rigid if I use a script. But the other thing is also, I think editors hate me because if I don't use a script, of course, I'll just machine gun loads of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit patchy about, A, B, C, D. But I suppose the stuff on the internet allows you to just be a bit more freeform. And that's what I wanted to do on CarPervert. I wanted to show people what is going on up here, which is, mostly new cars for my living. Old cars always being the hobby and the pastime, the money pits, the beautiful money pits. And then there's a bit of a crossover with tinkering on cars, technology, other hobbies which are related. I mean, obviously we're all in isolation at the moment, which is just deeply unusual.
Yes.
And I'm building dioramas, model dioramas. When I've got a spare minute.
Because I think where your enthusiasm really came across to me was the Honda. Is it the Honda Z, the electric one, or is it the Honda E?
The Honda E.
Yeah, the Honda E.
Yeah.
When you were doing those fully charged videos, you did the one in Japan where you met the team behind it, and another one where you saw the car before you were allowed to drive it. I think it was just to look around the finished car.
That's right.
But both those videos, you can see you're as giddy as a schoolboy. You're having the time of your life, and that's what I like. It just comes straight across. And having met you in real life, that is how you are. And very genuine.
You. Yeah. Well, I try to be. I think the thing is I can't feign interest. If you ask my wife, she'll say, I can't act for shit. I can't pretend I'm interested in something if I'm not. And I feel fortunate that stuff we do for a job is passionate. It's if you weren't this deep into it, you just wouldn't make this kind of content. And I've never in 20 odd years of being a motoring journalist, I've actually never woken up and thought that I was going to be bored. It was hard. Sometimes it was hard, but the hours are a bit erratic and difficult, but never bored. Never.
Yeah.
The variety is what I love. One minute I'm talking to some mad person that hoards cars that they're clearly never going to do anything with. The next minute you're in a factory, Bugatti factory or something, meeting industry.
That jeweler recently with the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts is building.
Oh yeah, Russell Lord, the Lord of Ford.
That's astonishing. What was the value of those headlights again?
And 30 or 40 grand's worth of diamonds just in the rally lights and the headlights.
It's just incredible. And the working suspension, and it's just crazy stuff.
It's all gold, silver and platinum. I mean, The
But
Ford Oval.
it's that variety that makes CarPervert, because it's that, and then you're dragging an Allegro out of a shed with Tim Glover, and
That Allegro video, I had a hunch that people would quite like it, but it's been one of my most successful videos.
yeah, people go absolutely crazy for British Leyland stuff. Whether they love it or hate it, they are interested. Everyone has an opinion. So I love it. I love British Leyland stuff, so I can feature the cars I love and know they'll get great views. They won't always get great comments, but they will get great views.
I tell you what, though, there's always a lot of comments, isn't there?
Yes, a sea of them. Yeah.
I noticed that with the Allegro. I think it's had more comments than any other video.
Yeah, and again, the whole classic car world is driven mostly by nostalgia, and it's oh my gosh, I used to have one of those things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's the infection that we suffer from, isn't it? It's nostalgia and sentiment. And I've just been in the garage filming this morning, and I actually really smell of petrol. It's a bit ironic that I've drove an electric car to the garage, which is just around the corner, and I reek of petrol. But
which car have you been working on? Are you at liberty to divulge?
I'm just making a film on my first car, my Beetle, because I realised I haven't started it in 10 years.
No, we've seen it in the background, I think. Have you discussed it briefly?
I think I've discussed it briefly on a few occasions, yeah. And it's right in the corner of the garage, so it's I did put Baby in the corner, and Baby's been in the corner for some time, and it hasn't been on the road since 2003.
Gosh.
So yeah, I felt like in this time of isolation, I'm obviously trying to be a bit creative with what content we can make, and actually I've got a bit more time than I normally would, and time is always the thing that is the precious commodity actually these days. So just lavishing a bit of time on the car that means the most to me, and that car, out of all the cars, that is the most important car to me, because that's the basis on which this whole interest and my career was built on, I think.
Yeah, bear with me. I'm just having to slow down something in the background that I think is clogging my bandwidth, but I think we're good.
We've all had our bandwidth clogged. Talking of which, our drains are clogged at home. After this, I've got to literally shovel shit, I think.
Oh, wow. It's a glamorous lifestyle that most people don't see behind the cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So one thing I always wanted to discuss, I mean, I think we're both very much fans of the Honda, all sort of Hondas. And your recent Honda video where you drove your little, it's not actually a monkey bike, I don't think, is it? Your little bike?
It's classed as a monkey bike, yeah. It's
it is classed as one. Yeah,
they call it, I've got the manual somewhere around here. It classed as a Honda CZ100 monkey, inverted.
But yeah, so watching you drive that round Stamford, I mean, frankly, that makes my Invacar feel like the height of luxury and safety.
We should get them together sometime.
Needs to happen.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
The Honda is, I bought the Honda in 2012 after having a few other of the bigger, more sensible Hondas. And that's the weird thing about the CZ100. You get off a normal monkey bike with full suspension and everything. And it suddenly feels normal rather than big novelty, because you get on the CZ and it's like, I don't know, it's so small and so odd. The fact that you could drive on it
makes the other traffic look enormous.
Yeah, it will. If you think about the Honda still build, is it the CRF 50, which is the kids 50cc little scramble bike? They still build that, and that's bigger than my bike. And the CRF 50 is not a road bike; it's for children in gardens.
Wow. Yeah.
So
different times. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always wanted a CZ100 because I just think it's a design masterpiece. It's just. It just looks so good. In fact, like I said in the vid, it's the only vehicle my wife has ever said that would look really good in the house. And I'm like, yes, it would.
Doing. Yes, that definitely needs doing. That's a good project to be cracking on with.
Maybe I might open the windows and ride it through the house. I could
that
probably
would
do
make
that
a good
in
video. Was it Dougie Lampkin who wrote around the Was it Lord March's house?
Goodwood
There you go.
House, yeah.
There's your inspiration. Yeah.
I need the Lampkin it.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about is obviously you don't just do the CarPervert stuff. You've got the Smith and Sniff stuff going on where you went to that remarkable auction recently. While I was still out of the country, I was most envious about missing that.
It was
It's just
yeah, Smith
bizarre.
and Sniff was like, yeah, Smith and Sniff has been going now for I think 4 years. So it was always born out of me and Rich being friends and talking about doing something together, but never actually getting around to it. And one day we made a stand and went, look, I'll come to your house and we'll just rig up some action cameras and we'll just see what happens. And most of the time it's quite badly shot because I shoot it. But it is quite amateurish, but it's really just kind of two blokes in cars in a car trying to review the car, but constantly getting distracted
by everything. Yes,
digressing, either talking about people or other vehicles or the place that we're in. Yeah, and it's really good fun to make. We're trying to push it a bit because we've in the last 6 months we've started breaking even. So yeah,
that's quite a step.
Yeah, we're hoping now to make money out of it. That's the next step, making some money. We've done it for a while, breaking even / losing money. But yeah, that's really good fun. I'm really
because that's you and Richard Porter, who is behind the Sniff Petrol website, former Top Gear script editor. Is he still involved with the Grand Tour?
Yeah.
So certainly a man of motoring.
Oh yeah, I mean he's an author of multiple books, and he's been Clarkson's script man for nearly 20 years.
Gosh, longer than he'd probably want to admit. Yeah.
All of the memorable Top Gears, have been really him. So he's pretty humble about that. I mean, and as you know, he loves a lot of crap cars as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can write off Top Gear, and frankly, I often do. It just didn't. It wasn't my cup of tea anymore. But the people behind the show were still massive petrol heads. And if you follow Sniff Petrol on Twitter, you can see he keeps talking about this book of really boring car facts that he must publish because it would contain some delicious nuggets. And it's boring nuggets about boring ordinary cars. It's a book that needs to happen.
I've never written a book, but if anyone's going to persuade me to write or co-write a book, it would be him, I think. I've got some ideas, but to be honest, I'd sooner just make TV. I don't think I've got the patience to do a book.
No, I have had one attempt at a book, and it was kind of when I sat down to start work on it, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is really hard, actually.
Yeah, really quite time consuming.
Yeah. I'm used to writing magazine features where you use the books as the source material, and suddenly I was having to write the source material. And you're like, whoa, different kettle of fish.
I know. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre.
But I think one of my favourite Smith and Sniffs so far is that auction where you just went and checked out the cars that came. Was it Evesham Way?
Yeah, it was.
Just
it was.
A really muddy field full of all these cars that looked like they'd sort of been dumped there.
I mean, it's been I think our most popular video.
I'm not surprised. It's incredible. If you haven't seen it, do go and check it out.
It's called The Field of Dreams, I think, but it's more of the Field of Doom. It's that's a seriously odd collection of cars for auction. That was.
Yeah.
The guy who owned them was a very pleasant guy. We got permission by the auction house to go and have a look round, and Rich was like, "Yeah, we should do this." So we got Mark Taylor Hankins, the videographer, to do it. So we had it professionally shot. The weather was biblical, awful, really awful, and it was just the quantity of cars and the condition of some of them. I mean,
just begged belief.
Some of the condition was just like, I don't even think that's a donor car. I can't see what you'd get off that. and you've got to drag it out of a field and put it on a trailer and take it somewhere.
Quite. I am pleased to report the Citroen GS you looked at has been bought by someone I know, so that will hopefully get restored at some point.
That was one of the better ones.
Yeah. But like you say, some of the cars were dreadful. And I imagine the auction itself on that day must have been terrible, because I don't think the weather was much better.
Well, we've had just relentless storms with different names since the beginning of the year. So, and I hate the wind. It's out of all of the climates, it's the one that pisses me off the most, I think.
Yeah, because there's a lot of aggro for us amateur recorders, certainly.
Oh, it's terrible for filming. It's annoying to work in, because everything tries to fly away or get destroyed and bent.
Yeah, and your fingers just end up freezing, and yeah.
You know, unless I'm making electricity with it, it pisses me right off.
But jumping to a different channel, you did the collab with Car and Classic, Chris Pollitt, where a Citroen GS featured heavily again when you first started digging that Jaguar out, and then a separate video on the rustiest GS I have ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, that car, the Jag and the Citroen, that yard, I've been wanting to film there for ages, because like I said in the video, I went to college with the guy who owns it. It's one of those things where we kept saying, yeah, we'll do it, but we never did. And then when Chris said, would you like to do a Car and Classic video? I said, I've got an idea. I think I know the rustiest classic car in existence. And the Jag, I'd seen the Jag 10 years previous, and it was just truly rotten then. So I didn't know how bad it was. I sent my dad on a recce, because my mum and dad still live down in Somerset. I don't anymore. And my dad came back to me with a couple of pictures on an email and said, I don't know what you're expecting, but ... And it was like, oh, it's quite bad. Yeah. So what was good was we knew we had to sort of clear some of the hedge away from the GS to get to the Jag, or to move the Jag with the tractor. But I didn't realise, I think it might have been you that pointed this out, of how early it was. I didn't know how early it was.
The earliest known right-hand drive GSA, certainly in the UK.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was going to say surviving, but that term seems a little bit loose for that car, because I know someone who he would love to buy it and he wants to keep it just as it is, but I'd be scared to move it. It would just collapse.
I think you'd have to put some forks or some scaffolding tubes under it and kind of like brace it, I guess.
But I see where he's coming from. There would be such a beauty in just maintaining it as it is and just showing what rust can do to a car. It's a very good demonstration. Yeah,
it's actually, the interior is weirdly good, considering the rot around the A-pillar and the windscreen. And it's a beautiful car. Like I said, I used to go to school in those at primary school. The people at the bottom of my cul-de-sac where I grew up, they had a string of GSs and GSAs, like 5 of them.
Yeah, of course. So I've now bought a GSA myself, so maybe that video was to blame.
You reckon? Well, I mean, all I know, in that car, I don't know if anyone's had any bits off it, but if that guy does want the car, I can put you in touch with Simon, and he'd let the car go.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm
pretty sure there wouldn't be a great deal of money involved.
Well, I shall speak to Chris, who may be watching this nervously, and I can forward details on. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't my fault, honest. But
when I went to that yard, that farmyard 10 years ago, to help him sell some of the bits, I photographed a load of it and sold, or helped him sell it through Classic Car Weekly.
Oh, okay, blimey.
I gave them all the pictures and said, look, he's got this stuff, because he had Jaguar Mark II manuals, 2-door Range Rovers, Mini Clubmans. I mean, bloody hell, name a car. He had an ex-police senator. He had a 3-door Sierra base model brown.
Wow.
That he'd forgotten he had, and it was in a huge bramble bush. And then he went, oh yeah, there's a Sierra 2-door in there. It's like,
blimey, one that hasn't been turned into a Cosworth. Yeah.
Exactly, one that hasn't, which is why I loved it so much, because it was so brown and base model and awful. I thought it was quite cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
yeah. But then, you know, we've got all this old car stuff, but I mean, we're both fans of electric as well. You've had far more experience than I have with electric, but what is the
Yeah.
appeal of electric to you?
Well, I first started getting into electric cars. I first found out that electric cars could be sort of interesting in the early 2000s with the Datsun, the White Zombie that I'm sure you know of in the States, Oregon, Portland.
Mm-hmm.
By a chap called John Wayland, who'd been experimenting with high voltage kind of classic cars for several years, since the 90s. And this thing really fascinated me because he would turn up at drag strips and blow Corvettes away, piss people off really quite badly in this little Datsun. And for years after, I was like, oh, I want to do some sort of EV hot rodding. And I thought maybe EV hot rodding is a thing. Maybe it could become a genre in the future, which I still think it will be. I think definitely. And then a few years later, 2007, I went to Japan on a job with Nissan and drove what was the prototype of the Leaf.
Wow.
The Leaf launched. We didn't know that the Leaf was going to look like it did. I drove a Nissan Cube. They put all of the running gear in a Cube and let me drive around this test track in Yokohama. And I fell in love with it. At the time I had a Cube. My wife's car was a Cube at the time. And I just thought, this is great. You know, nice torque, quite relaxing. Love the idea of not needing to warm a car up or being able to kind of warm it up with a remote control or an app plugged into your house, you know, at night or whatever.
Yep, just
I suddenly went, well, yeah, because like, as you know, most people don't drive exotic cars on a daily basis, you know, as in like the thing you use as your hack, your slag car. Most people will have something relatively average and it's not inspiring necessarily. It's not sexy. And I thought, well, maybe if you saved the fuel and burnt the fuel with interesting cars, which are cars most of us have only saved for weekends and summer or whatever, then the car you use every day should be maybe more efficient, cleaner, and have that quite addictive torque delivery.
Yeah, that is what does it do. That is what does it for me, is the torque delivery.
And it's, I suppose it was that in 2007 that really made me think I'm into this. I could really subscribe to this, and I never felt like it was going to rob me of my freedom of being able to keep piston cars. Whereas some people, I think, are very tribal about it.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Yeah, if you like EVs, then you can't drive that car. You can't drive. You know, I get people saying to me, "What? You're a hypocrite. Why are you driving an EV every day and you've got a V8 American car in the garage?"
Oh, yes, your Dodge Charger. Yeah, that's the antithesis, the exact opposite of an EV. Yeah.
Yeah, but I said that's kind of it. That is me. That's my yin and yang. I don't drive the Charger every day because I couldn't afford to, and I'm not a fool. And you know, the 1,500 miles, 2,000 miles a year I do in the Charger are seen as a reward. They actually feel more special because on a daily basis I'm using less fuel, and I guess I'm driving a cleaner car. So I'm not. I try not to be preachy about it because it's a personal choice. Yeah. But that's the way I do it. And also the money I've saved on tax and monthly fuel bills with an EV means I can spend more money on parts for the old cars, which is what I basically
Makes sense
do.
To me. Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. 4 or 5 years.
A lot of people are surprised when they ask me what my first video is on HubNut, and it was actually back when I was Classic Hub, which makes it even more odd. But the very first video on my channel is me 6 years after you driving a Nissan Leaf for the first time, and that's how it began. I wanted to record the moment of me driving an electric car, and that's how the channel was born.
There you go. I think that's great because you like you say, you have a similar appreciation to me. You can see the relevance to an electric car in the world we live in.
Entirely. I don't think they're a magic solution and that they make all the world's problems go away, But
No.
I do think they're interesting, and I think they do offer some improvement, like town centre emissions and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And if you can charge your home, your home's suddenly your fuel station. And then
Yeah.
the next step on for some of us, which I'm hoping to achieve, is self energy generation. If you can generate your own electricity, then that's like winner chicken dinner or vegan dinner, depending on your tendencies.
But at least we work in a country where we can do that, and there's parts of America
Yeah.
where you're not allowed to make your own electricity. So
That's
think
just screwed
we're
up.
very lucky here.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the future is actually really exciting, because it's this now we're in this sort of melting pot of classic cars, which we both like, future tech, some of which is brilliant, some of which is just pointless, and then it all kind of mixes in the middle. You've got people repurposing Tesla and Leaf drives in old cars, and
like electric
old
classic cars, the stuff they do.
Exactly. And there are going to be more of those guys, those sort of cottage industries sprouting up, and there's going to be more DIY EV stuff, I hope, as well. I mean, there are a lot.
I'm certainly not ruling out converting any of my cars to electric. On the one hand,
Awesome.
petrol is a part of their character, but I've driven enough converted classics to know that you still have fun driving them, and the amount of torque you get in an old car that's electric converted is hilarious. So,
oh man, I mean, like, yeah, even a really mild powertrain in something small and light, like a 2CV or an MG
Volkswagen
Midget.
Beetle.
Yeah, exactly. The power to weight's just fantastic. I'm trying to broker a deal where I can document converting one myself at the moment. It's one of my aspirations for CarPervert. It's one of the sort of mini series. So I'm trying. It's not easy.
Fingers crossed for that one.
But that's something that is definitely on my really important list above my head.
Speaking of future stuff, is there any other stuff you can hint at that's coming on CarPervert soon? I appreciate filming is a bit tricky at the moment, but I also know you tend to have a bit that you filmed a little further back, perhaps.
I've tried to get ahead of myself. I'm going to be doing lots of garage-based stuff in the next month or so, depending on how long we're locked down. So I guess a bit more hands-on-y, and maybe quite nostalgic, I suppose. I'm going to try and do some lawnmower stuff.
Ooh.
Because I'm trying to think of what I've got access to, and I said I've got access to a couple of garages, and I've got access to a garden, and I've got two classic lawnmowers.
Will they start? Well, there you go. People are hooked already.
Well, actually, yeah. No, I got two. I got given a really nice '80s Honda lawn tractor, which I do need to actually get that going, because that's quite sweet. And the guy gifted it to me. Really nice guy, Kieran, and it was his late father's. And he said, "Oh, you like lawnmowers and weird stuff." We went,
and Hondas indeed.
This Honda, yeah, I love Hondas, and it's a water-cooled twin. Like, who builds a lawn tractor that's a water-cooled twin? It's so complicated.
Yeah, that sounds very, very Honda.
It's properly Honda.
Yeah, so they're always throw the paper away, fresh sheet, and let's start again.
Yeah. This is not a Briggs and Stratton, pull cord job. This is water-cooled twin. This could probably win.
I'm all intrigued already. So this sounds like winning content.
So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm hopefully. See, I've started CarPervert properly at the beginning of this year, so it's still quite young. But I'm just trying to sort of I'm speculating to accumulate. I've got quite a lot of content out there, self-funded. So now I'm trying at the point to get some backing and some sponsorship and stuff. So I've got some bold ambitions, and luckily I've got a lot of contacts with people who have really interesting cars.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just hoping. I just need to get in those cars as soon as I'm allowed, really. I'm trying to work out a way whether or not someone could drop a car at my house, sanitize it, and then run away, and then I could just get in it and drive it for a few days.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
No,
advisable.
no, it's so difficult to try and find a way out of this, but
Yeah, which is
yeah.
why the whole a couple of lawnmowers. What have I got in the garage? Oh, well, the company working on the Honda S600 is still in operation, so that car is nearly at a point of being able to be drivable.
Wow. Aren't you after? Are you
And
still
then
after chains for that?
I think I found the right chains.
Ooh,
So we're now down to, we've got to machine a couple of new bronze bushes, and then put the seals in the wheel cylinders, and then really go the exhaust. Actually, the
mm.
exhaust, yeah. Repro
Yeah, because
exhausts are quite
I mean
expensive.
the drive system on that car is just remarkable. I knew they were chain drive, but I didn't really know how. And it's
I
a
mean,
fascinating
it's
system.
yeah, it's fascinating. It was also a little bit depressing because I was told that the axle was in good condition, and then when we
Ah,
saw loads of dwarf falling out of it, we're like, it's not in good condition.
no,
And
bad times.
yeah, so but when that car's done, that'll be exciting because that's well, I know you like it. It's a bit of a work
Oh
of art,
yeah,
that little one.
I've driven an S800. I've not driven this 600. Yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think
So
is even higher revving, bizarrely.
yeah, I think it is. Yeah, what was it? 57 horsepower from a 606cc. Did 93 miles an hour,
Blimey.
which is bizarre when you think about it. Because if you compare that to what was around in '64 when it came
Yeah,
out, like Austin Healey Sprite, I mean, leave it for dead, wouldn't it?
yeah. Well, is it?
Um,
I think it's a similar sort of power output, but twice the engine and a hell of a lot more weight, I imagine.
yeah, yeah. Because this thing, the guys in the club said to me, it will safely rev to 10,000. And I'm like, what? And then he said, but a couple of the guys said it'll momentarily, like if you were racing or whatever, you can take it to sort of 12 for very short spaces of time. Obviously, if
Blimey.
the engine. And I'm like, this was in 19. This was in the early 60s.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean, it's
incredible.
just. I mean, we look at cars now, like a modern Honda VTEC. It still won't do 10 grand.
No,
Yeah.
no. When I was in Australia, I drove a Daihatsu Mira that had a Copen engine dropped into it,
Oh,
660cc, and that would rev beyond 8 quite merrily, and the noise it made was just incredible. So that's a future video I've got to come. But
yeah.
that's still less than the Honda S600 was doing in the 60s,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and the
that's why
same
I thought,
sort of power output, 63 brake horse.
yeah, I think that's why almost why that car's so fascinating. Because even if you don't like the look of it, the engineering on that car is just bonkers.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
so finding, I have to say, I've owned quite a few pretty rare cars over the years, but in terms of rarity of parts, the
Mm,
Honda takes the biscuit. It's
yeah.
so difficult.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
a lot of Japanese stuff. Even getting into the 80s and 90s, trying to get bits for Japanese stuff can be really hard.
yeah.
And
Well,
these are cars that used to be everywhere. So I mean,
yeah,
S600 were not everywhere. So yeah, I don't envy you.
yeah, it's tough. I'm not
Mm,
going to lie. It's got quite expensive.
yes, I can
It's
imagine. But
some
yeah,
of the
what a
bills are
machine.
quite upsetting.
But you know, you could park it
Uh,
next to a Lamborghini Miura, and it's that little Honda I'd be all over. Just absolutely fascinating.
yeah, I think it gets a lot of respect when you pop the bonnet and people go 4 cylinders, 4 carbs, double overhead cam, really great little gearbox, mad chain, independent axle back end. I mean, like that's twice, 3 times the engineering of a Ferrari of the time.
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, like,
unbelievable.
what? Yeah, you've got to give it a bit of respect. But
Mm.
the only downside is I actually can't really fit in it, and I
Yeah,
didn't know
you're not the
this.
shortest of gentlemen.
No, and I hadn't got in it before I bought it.
Oh dear. Didn't
I
they come
actually
from South
can't get in
Africa?
it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's a South African import. So I've got to UK register it, but I'm really not going to be able to drive it very easily, which is
Oh.
a problem I
Well,
didn't foresee.
if you need a stunt driver, just let me know.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, you're absolutely welcome to come and drive it. You know, the thing is it's it will need to be driven. I'm just hoping that it all goes back together okay, and there's not like a part that's rarer than all the other bloody parts which have been rare that I need, that I can't find, because we've had to machine so many bits for the axle, for example. So but it's cool.
Look forward to seeing more on it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good
Super.
car.
Well, I think having had a look at the clock and gone, that's probably a good point to end on. I think the S600. But where can people find you variously, social media and the like?
Twitter at CarPervert, Instagram Jonny CarPervert, because someone took CarPervert, thief. And youtube.com/CarPervert. So I forgot, we haven't even talked about the Allegro. That's coming up soon.
No, the V6 Allegro.
The V6 Allegro. We have a plan to finish that car, and it's going to happen in fact, it's April, isn't it? From this month. It's going to happen.
I'm not sure I believe this, because I think it must be 10, maybe even 11 years since I first met you, and we briefly discussed that Allegro. This mythical Allegro that allegedly exists. So
I have a few sadly mythical cars which never quite get finished. One of them's the Chevy Impala, which is just an absolute...
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Yes, you have seen that.
I have.
You did see that. So it is real. You know it's real.
Yeah, that one's real.
That one's a tough one. But the Allegro, started in 2007.
Wow.
So a while ago. But it is actually going to be finished. Like, real plans, really going to happen.
Oh my gosh. That Rover 800 V6, was it?
Yeah. 827 V6.
Of course. Honda power, of course.
Honda, of course. Yeah. That's why I chose it. It's going to be really nice, actually. It's going to be sort of original paint patina on the outside, and then underneath, and the engine bay will be really where the detail is.
Excellent. So what sort of suspension has it got going on?
It's got coilovers, horizontal coilovers on the back, a vertical normal adjustable coilovers on the front from a Golf GTI. So Golf GTI struts really with discs and calipers from a Golf, and then hopefully going for some struts bracing, so some torsional rigidity, and then I've got a supercharger. We're going to put a supercharger on it. I've got it. Yeah, from a Merc compressor. I've already got it. The plan's already in action.
Brilliant. Love it. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. That car excites me more than most, actually.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll get to meet you and your machines at some point. We have been discussing it on and off for quite a while, but then viruses and things get in the way. And
well, you go globetrotting as well, Ian, you know?
Yes, this is very true. You know, jet set life now. And, Lincolnshire's just too far away.
We do live a long way from one another, that is true. Yeah,
that's my mistake.
No, we
in Wales. Wales is miles away from everywhere.
I love Wales. I haven't been there for a while now. I am missing it.
It is quite handy in the time of viral infections that you can just sort of hide here.
Yeah,
I think we're fairly safe. Yeah.
You should stay there.
Anyway, thank you very much for chatting, and go and check out CarPervert on the various places, but most especially YouTube, really. And thank you very much.
Sweet. Thanks, Ian.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.